Tim Menswar, otherwise known as the old white-haired guy. I also serve as chairperson to the Memorial High School Hall of Fame, and it's my pleasure to welcome you to the induction ceremony of the class of 2022. This is my last time through, so I will probably take another minute or two to say some things since this is my last opportunity. It was 30 years ago this year that one of my favorite principals, Ray Downton, called me into his office and asked me if I would be willing to take over as advisor to the Memorial High School Assembly Committee. He said it wasn't a difficult job because I'd only be responsible for overseeing 3 assemblies: Thanksgiving, Christmas, and Memorial Day. He told me to put up notices around the school asking interested students to join the committee, so I did just that. Not knowing how many students would show up, I held it in my old homeroom, 609. He said I'd probably have 20 or 30 kids show, and to pick 10 or 15 to form my committee. Well, as I came down the hallway, there were more than 100 students that were waiting for me after school. When I walked into the room and looked around, I kept saying to myself, oh my God, holy crap, what am I going to do now? It was then that I concluded that over 100 students wanted to be part of a committee to do something for their own high school. I better figure out a way to be able to use them. Instead of doing just the 3 assemblies, Thanksgiving in the fall, Christmas in the winter, and Memorial Day in the spring, using those 3 seasons, fall, winter, and spring, we decided to add a few more tasks. We took over the pep rallies for the cheerleaders. We created school projects like beautifying the campus by adding trees, shrubs, and flowers. We helped the people in our neighborhood, our school district, with a project that we called Raking to the Elderly. We bought the illuminated sign that exists near the entrance to the gymnasium side of the parking lot. Non-functioning now, but we'll get that repaired soon. And we just wanted people to be aware of what was happening at Memorial as it was happening. The majority of the students in that room were seniors. And in an attempt to make their senior year something special, something that underclassmen would look forward to, we created 3 things. Senior weekend in the fall, a motorcade that went from our parking lot packed to Gill Stadium for a football game. Saturday, we held a cookout. Then we had Senior Olympics on the field that had a variety of activities, sack races, everything, and it ended with a water balloon fight that became the Mud Bowl. And then after that, we wrapped the day up with a dance in the cafeteria that was senior-led. In the winter, we held the first ever senior lock-in. You have to have been there to believe it. From 5 o'clock Friday to 8 o'clock Saturday night, we locked over 200 seniors in the building, and we had a blast and a half. After midnight, I was the only faculty person here the first couple of years we did it. And when I think back of how well those people behaved, seniors, it was phenomenal, and I'm still stunned. We had rules. They knew if they broke the rule, what would happen. Nobody broke the rules. That event had a variety of different activities to keep them occupied from 5 to 8, and they were occupied, but I can close my eyes and remember it like it was yesterday. In the spring, we hired buses from the city, and we bused the senior class to Mount Washington, Lake Winnipesaukee, and we rented the Mount Washington for a 4-hour dinner cruise, then bused them back home. On class day, when they come in caps and gowns, I asked them to write letters to each other, to people that they'd always wanted to talk to, people that they're probably interested in, but never had the courage to tell them what they were interested in. And as they come in, they put their letters into what we call the time capsule. 6 feet high, almost 3 feet in its width, and it was cram-packed, and a tremendous number of memories that were contained in it, and we buried it on the campus to be opened at their 20th class reunion. Today, or I should say, as unique as that sounds, and believe me, it was, and if you had been through any of those experiences, you remember what it was like. That wasn't the most outstanding thing that the Assembly Committee did. In 1994, the officers of that committee, Brian Lacasse was its president, Ben Battistelli was the vice president, the secretary is Melissa Mahoney, and the treasurer was Amy Albert. We decided to try something that had never existed. Memorial opened its doors in 1960. Never had a Hall of Fame. So we figured, what the heck? We're a large group. At that point, we were over 200. Let's say we give it a try. So in 1994, Memorial High School's Assembly created what is still going now, the Memorial High School Hall of Fame. It has 3 divisions. It started strictly with the red division. That was for athletes. We did that in 94, we did it in 2000 rather, and then in 2006. But in 2006, I'm thinking, granted, yes, you should recognize the athletes that have gone through our high school. But other people that have gone through our high school, graduates, have done things that are worth merit too and should be recognized for that. So I took the school's colors. Red stayed athletics. But I took the white and said, okay, this will become graduates of prominence. People that graduated from Memorial that have done something that's outstanding and has brought credit directly or indirectly back to the high school, they should be recognized. So graduates of prominence, white division. And we decided to use our 3rd color, blue. That would be for people that have volunteered tremendous amounts of time and effort to help Memorial High School better itself in whatever capacity. And we expanded that to include assistant coaches, advisors, just people that contribute a lot of time and effort to make the program successful. So it's 3 divisions. The Hall of Fame inducts a class every 6 years. It's not yearly, it's not every couple of years, it's every 6 years. And you understand it's a boatload of work to put everything together. But I can tell you, speaking for myself and our committee, it is well worth it, particularly when you see a turnout like this. For the past 28 years, I have served as chairperson of the Hall of Fame Selection Committee, the group responsible for making the difficult decision of selecting the inductees, and it is difficult. I don't care what the sport is. If you've ever been a coach, cutting down your final players, making that final cut, it is gut-wrenching at times, knowing that those kids are in the numbers of the final cut, and you have to tell them either they are or aren't on the team. It becomes extremely difficult. If you've ever been an employer and you're looking to move one of your employees out, it also becomes very difficult when you're trying to narrow down who gets the job, who doesn't. Well, I can tell you, every member of this committee, we went through the same stress, the same difficulty in making the decisions as we selected the entries for this year's class. In all honesty, selecting the blue and white divisions, not as difficult, because you read the commentary underneath their names on their plaques, you'll understand why they're in, self-explanatory. Selecting the athletes, totally different thing, very difficult. In 2014, because I had retired as a teacher in 2002, this is my 20th year out, with no contact with the student body, no contact with faculty, it became extremely difficult. With the 2015 class, I asked 4 people to help put the program on, and 4 people joined me. My brother Don, Nip Preventure, Angie Manning, and Kenny Groberg. We all formed what I call the core committee. Those individuals, because they're responsible for what happened in 15, and again, what's happening today. Would you please stand so the people will see who has done this, put this on? Those 4 individuals. Because there's a boatload of work involved in the entire process, especially with the number of possible inductees, it's significant. Therefore, for the selection of this class, I asked 7 more people to join us. So Betsy Call, Maureen Kuchar, Tom Dolan, Diane Dreyer, Dave Goffman, Len Heinz, Tom Lynch, and Peter Perrick agreed to come on board. Would those people please stand and be recognized? Additionally, to have further input, I asked 9 former administrators, teachers, and/or coaches: Arthur Adamagus, Dave Hedges, John Cobb, Paul Moakman, Jim Morgan, Bruce Perrault, Gary Philippi, Butch Salidas, and Jack Quirk for their help and input, particularly as coaches, since they're the ones that give you the insight to let you know whether this person does or doesn't deserve entry. Would those individuals please stand too? I want to add one more person to that group, and this person has been more important to me than all of the people that I've mentioned, all the people that have stood. And that's my wife for 54 years. Over my time as chairperson of the hall, I've learned a very important lesson. If you're in doubt, ask your wife. We haven't always agreed, definitely, but the majority of the time, she's been right, and that's tough at times to admit. Next spring, I will celebrate the 10th anniversary of my 8th birthday. So when the next induction takes place in 2028, I'll be 85 years old.
Wow.
If I go by the time of existence of my dad and my mom, I'm probably not going to be here. I'm not saying I want out, but reality at times is check in. As a final request to my core committee, I wanted to go back to all the people that we had looked through for the class of 2015. If you were around during that time period, and it wasn't just Memorial, Central High School, West High School, Bishop Bradley at that time too, as well as the parochial schools, St. Anthony, St. Marie. There were some really good athletes, males and females in the city. Unfortunately, female sports weren't in yet, but they were soon to come and well deserved. It is a situation where, when I look back through that group, I'm thinking there are people in this group that still deserve entry into this Hall of Fame. So I asked this core committee, can we do this one more time to make sure we didn't miss somebody that certainly deserves to be in? I said, could you, as you look at these people, review their records, could he or she compete on an equal level with the athletes of that same sport who have already been inducted? If the answer was yes, then that athlete deserved your support. If the answer was no, then you moved on to the next athlete to be considered. By looking back that one more time, we were able to reduce the number first to 183 people, and that's from looking back at over 3,000 people. Then, through the tireless efforts of the 21 people total, 21 deserving athletes who played for Memorial teams over almost 4 decades were selected for induction into the Red Division athletes. As a high school athlete back in the early 60s, I played against and with some of the inductees. As a baseball coach, I got to mentor several of them. And as a teacher who began my career here in 1967, it is my pleasure to have got to know every member of this Hall of Fame. Simply, but importantly put, I believe every athlete is a deserving member of this Hall of Fame Red Division. The same can be said for the 9 graduates of prominence in the White Division, and the same can be said for the 7 graduates, the 7 inductees into the Blue Division, and the 3 coaches that are coming into varsity Red Division coaches. Because of my concern for COVID, we did not do a meal this year. That has been our tradition. And I want to be as careful as possible, but a meal also presents a longer period of time for everybody to be here. Because of that, we decided to try to do a little bit more for you inductees. On the inductee table in front of you, you have a full-size program book. You have the smaller version as guests, but the inductee has the full version. In addition, each of the members has a take-home plaque that you will see in a bit. This is the take-home plaque that each inductee will receive. These were all made with the company that we have worked with since 1992, Harris Trophy. But Frank and Lisa, they sold the business, so now we have moved to another company as we would continue. Additionally, in the brown box that they will receive, the white box contains a velvet case that, as you look to the cover of your program book, this is a commemorative coin signifying the reduction, and it weighs. You pick it up, you will feel the difference in weight. It's not like a 50-cent piece. The back, by the way, designed by a Hall of Fame member and former fellow teacher, Bruce Perrault. The coin's idea came from our oldest son, Frank. He is a keynote speaker, motivational speaker, and as a result of that, companies have presented him with coins from their companies as a memento. you have that. In the hallway, you walked beside or under banners that, because I'm no longer here and I don't have contact with the student body I used to, we decided, at my brother's idea, Don, he said, well, maybe a sign company can make up something that they can have as a memento too. You can't take home the wall plaque, that stays on school grounds. In fact, our youngest son, Todd, all 40 plaques are on that wall because of him. The original plaque, you could take the plate off, and I could drill through, pre-drill, and then lock the plaque onto the wall with a screw. These plaques are glued to the surface of the plaque. You can't take it off. So the only way we could do it is to get a type of glue that would adhere to the wall. He did all 40 of them in about a day and a half. Miracle, obviously. Also in their box is a holder, so if you want to display your coin, you can display it in your case because it has a slot for that too, but transparent holder, so you get to be able to have that as a memento with you. The banners that are hanging in the hallways, those are yours too. When you leave today, by the way, I want to be sure you stay, that have a picture taken with your class of 22, but those banners go home with you too upon leaving. At the conclusion of the ceremony, please make sure, and my brother is taking it down now, so, because if you pull them down, they are somewhat fragile, so there is a tendency for them to tear, so be careful as you take it home. The inductees, when you're introduced, the person presenting you will give a little blurb about you to orient you to the experience. You'll come up after the person is given the little introduction. You'll be presented with your take-home plaque and the brown box, and then you can set that to the side and then say your 3 minutes worth of whatever you would like to address. And then once you're done, you can take your seat. Those of you who are representing somebody else, if you're uncomfortable here, you are welcome to go back and sit with the audience if that's what, or at the 15-minute break, there's no reason for you to have to stick around, so totally up to you. But as a last thing before Peter gets us started, because there are a number of different members of the core committee that will be introducing each of the inductees, I do want to, from the bottom of my heart, thank you for coming today. It means a lot. Okay, Peter.
Good afternoon, everyone. It's my pleasure to be able to introduce you to our first inductee today, Joyce Hopkins Craig, from the class of 1985. This inductee has gone from leading the student body at Memorial High School as a varsity soccer hockey cheerleader to leading the citizens of the Manchester, New Hampshire as our first female mayor. And she's been elected twice. It's my pleasure to introduce you to my fellow crusader, who's also my boss on the school board, Mayor Joyce Craig.
Good afternoon. It's such a pleasure to be here with all of you. I want to start by thanking Mr. Menswar and all of the committee for your dedication and hard work. We know this isn't easy, and I just hope you know how much we all appreciate all that you're doing, so thank you. For me, this is one of the most meaningful and personal honors that I've received, and I'm very humbled to be recognized. And I'd like to congratulate all of the other inductees. It was fun reading through the list and seeing friends from high school, funds, colleagues from work, Dan Goonan and Dave Fleury, and coaches like Steve Vanderbeeken, who have positively impacted the lives of so many kids throughout the city of Manchester, including my own. Every time I'm back at Memorial, I'm flooded with memories and good feelings about growing up with loving and supportive parents, who I'm so proud are here today, good friends, one of whom I married, and dedicated teachers who prepared me for the future, all of whom collectively gave me the confidence that I could do anything that I set my heart on. When I think back about my time at Memorial, I think about how every day Mr. Garbadina came out and talked to me when I was at my locker, often sharing stories about my dad and my uncles. How Mr. Adamakis gave us creative freedom to put together an award-winning yearbook that happened to be right where I'm sitting tonight. And how Mr. Samara taught me how to look at things differently and to always be thoughtful. All of these teachers and many more had a tremendous impact on me. And it was this positive influence, coupled with my kids, William, Sarah, and Catherine, that got me involved in public service. Two more things that I want to mention. One is that I am so grateful to be serving on the Board of School Committee with Mr. Perrick. While I'm supposed to be calling him Committee Member Perrick, he will always be Mr. Perrick to me. And my daughter, Sarah, is now an English teacher at Central, and she's also coaching the Memorial Swim team. So we always have that connection somehow. So the impact of teachers, and specifically the Memorial teachers they've had on me and thousands of other students before and after me, continues beyond our 4 years in the walls of this school. And I want you to know that it's because of all of you, you're helping us with our dreams coming true. So it's an honor to receive this, and thank you very much.
Well, I'm up again, and I'm just as proud to introduce this next person to you. John Edinger, class of 1989. Selected by his peers, most involved and most likely to succeed. This inductee also found time to serve as class president and as captain of the varsity soccer team, while continuing as a journalist for the school yearbook gallery. And guess what? Now he's a very successful and highly respected cardiologist at CMC. A position almost as prestigious as his reign as junior prom king. It's my pleasure to introduce to you my former captain, this inductee, who also happens to be my doctor at times,
I have 3 minutes. So, thank you. It was awesome. Always great to be back here. And so, my mom always mentioned to me that her high school years were some of her most formative. Her experience was a great barometer of what was to follow for me here at Memorial. MMHS built upon a foundation that started for me in Catholic schools and provided me lessons and tools to help me grow, meet challenges, and accept responsibility for my decisions. My first day of school, I talked to the wrong girl and got thrown through that trophy case over there. And served 3 days in internal suspension, first day of high school. That was a great memory, but it quickly taught me that the world wasn't going to accept all of my decisions amicably, and I needed to do things better in order to succeed. Showed me the value of hard work, determination, participation, and also provided me with a lot of kindness and compassion here at Memorial. I want to thank Mr. Menswer and the committee for this honor. Mr. Perrick, thank you. Appreciate all the hard work, similar to what Joyce was saying. Just wanted to take a minute to mention a few people in the audience who were really inspirational for me back at Memorial and continue to be to this day. It's going to be surprising to some of you, but Cindy Patton, right? Your grace in defeat was just as powerful as your humbleness in victory. You were a superstar and you were awesome. Astorita, Johnny, your quiet confidence and calm under pressure was a trait that I always admired. Your dad provided many lessons to some of us, to many of us in the room, and he would have been very proud of you today, buddy, wherever you are. Yep. Bram, your courage in the face of adversity has been your superpower. You were exemplary in that regard, both as an athlete and as an individual. And I'm certain you transferred and conferred those values to Theo and during his battle with cancer, that your strength and courage was a real source of inspiration for him, as it's been for many of us. My heart goes out to you and your family. Yeah. Rand Care, you made everyone better. I mean, your work ethic was just, blank that out, unbelievable. Okay? And I'm sure your legacy as a coach will be just as great as it is as an athlete. So again, Randy, you were awesome. Thank you. setting the bar high. Coach Parrish, you helped balance my intensity over the years and provided me with a lot of guidance during some of my most challenging periods. Thank you for that. Dave Dillers, you're a father figure for many. Dave just recently passed, but many people here benefit from his tutelage at South Soccer and Memorial Soccer. He will be missed. Jim Crawford was a peaceful, brilliant soul whose advice was sage and whimsical, and many of us have great stories of times with Jim Crawford. Dugan and Benson, thanks for showing me how to hold the line and craft a powerful argument. You guys are awesome faculty as well as many sitting here today. Matt, Mike, Pete, Bob, and Dan, you guys have been mainstays through my life. Right? Ups, downs, wouldn't be who I am today without your companionship and clarity and honesty. So thank you, guys. Mom and Dad, you've given me every opportunity to succeed. Your support has been unwavering. You've shown me the value of kindness and stewardship and generosity and things. So thank you. We really appreciate it. Robin and Jackson, this profession that I chose is not easy. You guys know that more than anyone. My hours are long and the stress is often unbelievable, but I love it. It's been a real vocation for me. It challenges my heart and mind, and I couldn't do it without you guys, so thanks a lot. You've shown patience and understanding, and your support's been unequivocal. You've helped me slow down and smell the roses and face some of my demons. You've made me a better person, father, husband, and physician. Jackson, your individualism and creativity are your superpowers. Never lose that, buddy. And Robbie, thanks for always being by my side. I love you.
Hello, my name is Richard Preventer. I'm here. I'm going to present the plaque to Debbie Flanders, who was a graduate of Memorial in 1970. While a high school student at Memorial, her junior year, she was a member of the U.S. national ski team and was one of the best female skiers in the country. And in her senior year, she unfortunately injured herself, and that kind of put a kibosh on her competitive career. And I would just like to recognize Debbie. If somebody is here to pick up the plaque for her, we'd like to give the plaque to Debbie Flanders, class of 70. I will keep it.
All right, so for the inductees that I'll be putting in today, please forgive me, I did not write this. It was my mentor, Ted Menzler. So if you're gonna get mad, get mad at him. Our next inductee during high school days, he had the nickname of Goons. The word surprised me at first because in the sport I played in high school, and still play now, hockey, if you were called a goon, it meant you were an aggressive person who tried to intimidate or hurt people. I can assure you that this inductee is just the opposite because he spent his life as a fireman and police officer. In fact, he recently retired as the chief of Manchester Fire Department and presently serves as a sergeant with the Auburn Police. This two-sport athlete was also selected by his classmates as the best-looking male, sharing the superlative with the class best-looking female, Vicky Savini. It's my pleasure to introduce you to Memorial graduate, retired Manchester Fire Chief Dan Goonan.
Well, thank you for that, Mr. Menzler. This is truly an honor. I'm really honored to be here, to be among all these peers of mine. I can tell you that, number one, I'm following some absolutely fantastic people. Just to be in their presence is really an honor. I always thought I'd kind of be on that side if I had a shot at this at all. From this side, seeing I was probably number 250 in my class, I never thought I'd be a graduate of Providence, but I'm really honored to be here. I'm honored to be part of this community. I've served this community for most of my adult life. I went to the fire department at about 20 years old and retired last year. It was a pleasure to be here during my 4 years. 4 years, not sure. Yeah, it was, I can't even say that I had any days here, that I can remember at my age, that I had nothing but just a great time. The people that, teachers and my coaches were absolutely fantastic, and they were really the foundation of kind of, man, I came to be. I think of them often, I think of them fondly. I still live in the area, and I drive by here a lot. Some of you guys know that I have 11-year-old twins who are now heading towards Memorial High School. They're in Wofford Middle School. I have a granddaughter at June Street, so there's going to be a lot of Goonans here. There was Goonans right through the 80s, like 81, 83, 85, and 87. So we've been around a while, and we've got a lot more to come. So I'm proud that they're going to be here at Memorial, and I'm proud that I was a graduate. Proud to serve the city of Manchester and continue to serve as best I can as I move forward in my relationship with the city. So I want to really thank everybody who set this up. Thank my teachers, thank my coaches, thank my family, thank my beautiful wife Denise, my beautiful mother Judy, Michael, Ginger, Aaron. Where's my number one daughter? Oh, there she is. And my granddaughter Beverly. It's like I said, it's an honor. It's a privilege to be here, and it's something that I had a heads up from Mr. Menswa a couple of years ago. Just said, make sure that you keep November of 22 open. And when I got here this morning, I was pleasantly surprised that I was inducted into the Memorial High School Hall of Fame. I had no idea. But anyway, so it's great. It's like I said, this is an honor. It's a pleasure, and I continue to be here, involved with the school system and the school for a long time. So thank you very much.
So I'm going to lower this. Congratulations to all the inductees. You have made us proud. It has been many years of hard work for all of you to achieve where you are at this time. I'm pleasantly surprised that I'm presenting this plaque to Jody Katz, who cannot be with us today because she is touring with a special group, and I will read the little word that we have here and add a few personal touches to it. First of all, I did graduate with Jody in 2006 after teaching PE here for 29 years, and it's very nice to see a lot of familiar faces here, some of whom were in my class, or I coached, or have just watched grow over the years. Even though I didn't have you in my class, I know who you are. So Jody, she graduated in 2006. During her high school days, this inductee was already recognized as a very talented singer. How good was she? Good enough to become a member of iconic singer Cher's backup group. I don't know how many people know that, but that was a very, very prominent position. She presently continues to display her talents as she travels as a singer with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra, which is the reason she can't be with us today. She does have a commitment. In her absence, though, her mom will be accepting her plaque. I have to say that I had Jody for 2 years, once as a freshman and once in my Walking for Fitness class. She serenaded us many times. She was she had the voice of a very much older person than what would have thought a 14 or 15-year-old would have been. She did win the American/Memorial Idol during her senior year. We had a contest during Memorial Week, as many of you remember those days, and she won the contest and she sang beautifully. and she has obviously kept that voice to this day. So if I could ask her mom, Diana, please.
Actually, me
It was you going to do it?
the worst looking version of that.
Okay. This is her husband. So he's here.
All right, well, I hope you're not all disappointed. I'm sure you are. Instead of the beautiful and charming Jody Katz, you get me probably about half as charming, about a tenth as good looking, but I'm here. So my name's Kurt Chisholm. I'm Jody Katz's husband. As mentioned, I'll be accepting the award on her behalf today. As mentioned as well, Jody's currently performing in arenas across the country. It's her 14th year with the Trans-Siberian Orchestra. She wishes more than anything to know she could be here today. Since high school, Jody's also performed in tour with superstars such as Miley Cyrus, Enrique Iglesias, and as mentioned as well, pop icon Cher. But regardless of where in the world Jody finds herself performing, she's never far from Manchester and the roots here that made her. Succeeding in the music industry, like succeeding in anything you make your life's work, takes grit, determination, hard work, and a whole lot of fearlessness. Jody wouldn't be where she is today without her life in Manchester, without her time here at Memorial High. It was a fateful moment here in Jody's senior year with a speaker named Mark Schoenfeld, who was a Broadway playwright who was delivering a presentation that set Jody on her path. Jody raised her hand during the presentation, asking if she could sing for him in front of her classmates. Within 2 weeks, she began working with Mark professionally, flying out to Hollywood for auditions. The rest, as they say, is history. And as I said, if it were not for Memorial, Jody would not be where she is today. That isn't lost on Jody, and that's why this means so much to her today to be inducted into the Memorial Hall of Fame. Jody would like to thank Mr. Menzwar for her induction in the White Division, the Graduates of Prominence section of the Memorial's Hall of Fame. I don't think she was quite good enough to be in the red section with the walking PE class, but that's okay. Her choir teacher, Mrs. Denola, she'd like to thank as well for teaching her what she needed to know to take the next step. Her principal, Mr. Athanakis, for helping create a great environment for her during her time here, and to the Memorial, where she honed her craft and learned to grow not only scholastically, but in the woman she is today. She'd also like to congratulate all the other inductees this evening. Once a Crusader, always a Crusader. Thank you.
Our next inductee was a track and field athlete at Memorial, as well as the president of the student council, and was one of the most school-spirited students at Memorial. Now she is a member of Floating Doctors, which is an organization that provides medical help to the Central and South America during times of earthquakes and hurricanes and such. I'd like to introduce now a member of the class of 1995, Dr. Jamie Snarsky.
Here, Jim!
That was definitely the wrong year. Close. 1995. Hi, everyone. When I started to prepare for this speech, unfortunately, all I could think about was all the things I didn't like about my career right now in emergency medicine. Being an emergency physician is not glamorous, and it's nothing like you see on TV. The medical care is actually the easy part, but it's filled with real-life drama from lack of staffing, insurance, and government mandates and big corporations telling us how to do our job. And that's not stressful at all, right? But add on top of that, a pandemic. Basically, suddenly be thrown into having to be an expert on a constantly changing virus that's controversial. What do you do with that? So it's a tough job. But if it were easy, everyone would do it. That is a quote that I frequently tell my students and anyone who's having a bad day in the field. Despite all of the challenges I faced with my ever-changing career, I still love what I do. It's a privilege to take care of patients and save lives. The thing I love most about being an emergency physician is
is that I have a skill set that I can use all over the world. I'm passionate about volunteering in third world countries, with floating doctors especially, and traveling to remote areas and providing medical care where it is needed most. And there's nothing better than taking a team of other doctors, nurses, and students who have never had this experience before, and inspiring them to get out of their comfort zone, sleep in a hammock, forget about electricity, and run a week-long clinic in the jungle where they'll have the best experience of their life. If it were easy, everyone would do it. I'm humbled to be back here today at Memorial High School where it all began. I have fond memories of running track and being president of student council. I want to thank everyone here today who made this possible, and especially my friends and family who are with me today. But I want to give a special thank you to my absolute favorite teacher, who unfortunately is not here today, Kathleen Sands. I was lucky enough to have her twice for honors biology, and she was young and always smiling and such an inspiration. She was so enthusiastic about science, which of course is my favorite subject, and certainly impacted my future, and I definitely think she helped me become the physician I am today. Thank you again for this elite honor. If it were easy, everyone would do it. I want to congratulate all of the inductees today who did not take the easy path and continue to inspire others towards excellence. Thank you.
Dr. Editor, I have unfortunately been told by Mr. Perrick that he is seriously considering moving to Florida to change doctors.
That'd be a mistake.
Angie Manny and I have been friends for a long time, and we talked about how difficult it would be to introduce our own sons if they were to be selected for entry into the Hall of Fame. Well, we're obviously both proud of the accomplishments of each of our sons. It's very difficult to talk about them without the tendency to want to brag. As you probably figured out by now, I spent my life in front of the classroom 35 years as an English teacher. Angie spent his work life working for the post office. Angie opted to have someone speak on his behalf, totally understood, but I wanted to talk about my son. He is being inducted into the White Division of the Hall of Fame because he's the author of 2 books, the last one called Black Sheep, that is a phenomenal book. He's also been traveling the country as an impacting, motivational, and keynote speaker, and his impact has been so good that he's ranked now in the top 10 along with Magic Johnson and the wife of George Stephanopoulos, Allie Wentworth. I can never remember her name. He also is the founder and CEO of Boogie Call, which is an unusual but intriguing app, and I'm sure he'll be willing to explain it to you. Ladies and gentlemen, it's my honor to introduce our son, Brad Menzor.
Apparently I need to be preparing my father's obituary. I've got like a couple of years left with him, and then not, I guess. It's news to all of us here. I'm going to save most of my thank yous for this Red Division in a little bit here, but I thought I'd tell you all a story about rats this morning, this afternoon anyways. In the 1950s, there was a study done on rats at Johns Hopkins University. It was a study on hope. You see, I spend most of my life these days traveling from one conference to the next, convincing people that they're capable of more. And in this study, they would take rats, they'd place them in a bucket of water, and they would time how long the rats would swim before they would drown. What they discovered was that rats are actually very good swimmers, and they would swim for 15 minutes before they would give up. Well, in a follow-up, they decided they would do the same study again But when they saw the rats begin to give up, they would reach down, they'd pick them up from the bucket, they'd pull them out, dry them off, give them a second to catch their breath, and they would immediately place them back into the bucket to see how long they would swim again. Do you know how long the rats swam the second time they were placed in the bucket? They swam for 60 hours. It seems impossible, but it's true. You see, when we believe that our circumstances are temporary and change is possible, we're capable of extraordinary things. Everybody up here that you see has accomplished extraordinary things. But I believe we all are capable of extraordinary things. All of us. My brother, through an extraordinary act, gave us 9 extra years with our son Theo, who beat cancer, but we lost him to COVID. Why should you want to accomplish extraordinary things? Over the last 18 months or so, since Theo has passed, it's been a struggle. And I had a friend come to me and say, you know, when you die, you really die twice. The first is when you leave this earth. But the second is the last time anyone ever says your name out loud. And then he said, what are you going to do to make sure your second life outlives your first? I spend my life now trying to do just that. And I just want to say thank you all for adding a few years to that life for me. Thank you all so much, guys.
Our next recipient I've known since probably 1960. We were members of the Manchester swim team at that time, and we both became members of Memorial High's first swim team in 1963. About that time, he continued to swim, and I sank. So, he swam for Memorial, very good swimmer, swam for UNH. After graduating from UNH, he has been involved as a swimming coach since. He was instrumental in getting the NHIAA to recognize swimming as a competitive sport. It is with great pleasure I announce my friend and fellow classmate of Memorial High School 1967, Steve Vanderbeeken.
Thanks. Yes, Dick and I go back a long way. And it's a pretty interesting segue. Pretty much need to get that article about the rats. I mean, I've spent my life studying swimming, and if I could get the kids out of the water and then dry them off, and then see if they could go for 60 hours. Kind of be a whole new approach. So thank you for that. Thank you for that. I do appreciate knowing that. Anyway, the best thing for me is to stick to my remarks at this point. Obviously, very, very proud to be here today, and I'm very humbled. Never dreamed all my years at Memorial High School that I'd be back here getting a Hall of Fame award. Congratulations, my congratulations, my family's congratulations to all the honorees here today. And obviously, I was very surprised when I got a call from Ted Mensor, our quite
a year ago. Phone rang at the high school state championship meet, and I ended up answering it. I'm going, oh, really? Well, let me call you back. For me, it just doesn't get any better than this, to be part of the Memorial High School Hall of Fame, and to have my family here with me today. Words cannot express what this means to me. My opinion is not very much gets accomplished alone, and especially for me, I have always had the love and support of my family, especially from my wife, Susan. She's sitting up front here. She's the one with the halo. And she's always been there, no matter how crazy she thought I was being at the time. My brother David and his wife Karen are here, Memorial High alumni. My son Timothy, his wife Kristen was unable to make the trip. Tim's here with my oldest grandson Matthew. Youngest grandson there couldn't make the trip with his mom, Kristen. My daughter Catherine is here with her husband, Kristen Hunter, Madison, and Ben. The other two grandchildren are all here. And the reason I bring them all up is because pretty much they are all involved in their communities. My son in the Wilbraham, Mass area, Preston and Catherine involved in the local area, and most anybody that's been around Manchester knows David and Karen have been on many boards for many decades and done a lot of volunteer work in the community. There is no doubt that all this was a direct result of our late mom and dad, Dorothy and Emil, who gave much of their lives to serving Manchester and were also on many boards over many decades. Whether my family and I realized it or not, their involvement must have made a big impression on us. Because as opportunities arose, we accepted where possible needs existed, we pursued them to try to fill that need. Our parents taught us some very basic life lessons that they lived and experienced and taught us by example. One was that we could be rich without a lot of material possessions, and that in order to live a full and satisfying life, you should give of yourself selflessly to people around you. Now David's family does that, my family is involved, and this is the legacy that my mom and dad pretty much handed down to all of us, albeit at the time we weren't really focused on that. This Memorial High School Hall of Fame Award is dedicated to my mom and dad and our family. And from the bottom of my heart, I thank you all.
Before I mention any information relevant to the next inductee, I do want to make a public apology to Steve's family. One of the fears you have when you deal with the program book is leaving somebody out. And unfortunately, I did. Information was sent, and at that time, Tim was the person in charge of doing the program book, but when the president of the Over 40 Hockey League that he's involved with passed away, Ken had to assume those responsibilities. So in talking with him, we decided, okay, I'll take over with whatever you do have, and any of the rest of the stuff can be sent to me. Unfortunately, I did not receive what was intended to be in the program book, but I am going to get that from that family. And I'm going to go to Alpha Graphics, and we'll have a separate program book printed up with that page added to it, so you have that as a memory. But again, my apologies for that. The 9th inductee, the final inductee to the White Division Hall of Fame, is a person that had an unbelievable impact on the job area that she went to. And never would you think that a high school graduate will have this kind of responsibility. But as one of her teachers during her time at Memorial, I got to meet her, know her early on, and I am extremely thankful for that. What she has done to merit induction to the White Division is that for more than 30 years, she was the director of all work done on the University of New Hampshire's campus. Any construction work done there, she was in charge. Unfortunately, she can't be here today. Why? She's in Egypt, studying structures that are being done there so she can involve herself with future endeavors. She asked one of her classmates, a teammate from the sports that they were involved with, to accept on her behalf. So it is my pleasure to introduce a person whose name is easily recognizable too, Donna McQuaid Musso, accepting on her behalf.
Honored with this recognition and sends her thanks.
This inductee has served as head coach of Memorial's junior varsity baseball team for 12 years and also served as interim coach during the 2021 season. The players he mentored also went on to have successful careers after making varsity. There's no doubt that his ability as a coach and leader filtered down to his son, Aaron, who served as head coach of Memorial's varsity before moving on to Winnicott High School to become the Warriors' vice principal and head baseball coach. It is my pleasure to introduce you to the Silver Fox, George Abu.
Good afternoon. 3 hours, right? It's been a privilege to be part of Memorial High School for the past 60 years, on and off, through different avenues. As a graduate of the class of '66, and then on to our boys, Aaron and Adam, attending school here themselves. I've also had the opportunity, as just mentioned, to assist with the varsity baseball program and also to coach JV baseball for about 12 years. I'm grateful and honored to be selected and appreciate the recognition to now being part of the MMHS Hall of Fame. And it's a special day also to be here to have my wife Sharon and Aaron and Adam to be present. I want to say thank you to Ted Menswater and the committee for making this possible. Thank you.
This is the second inductee to be honored by entry into the Blue Division Hall of Fame. He was a very close friend during my time here, and he lasted longer than I did. If you met Jim Crawford, Jim Crawford, better known to both his fellow teachers and students as Crawford. You met an icon. His name is perhaps the most recognized, most respected, and most loved of any member of the Memorial faculty since it opened its doors in 1960. Simply put, he was, as his license plate stated, MMH. S. How much did he love Memorial? Upon retiring, he moved to California to try to fulfill his dream of becoming the mascot San Diego Padres. If you knew Jim, that wasn't just a wish, that was a plan. Though he was all the way on the other side of the country, you know who the driver of that car was, because what was his plate? MMHS. Accepting on his behalf today was supposed to be one of his fellow teachers, a person that worked for years with him, was Pat Molan. Pat Molan's husband has COVID, so she didn't want to risk anybody being exposed to something that obviously we don't want to be, so she asked to be relieved of that experience, though she regretted it for obvious reasons. Jim, we know where you are. I won't tell you where his ashes are, but we know who he is.
You won't find a more dedicated person to serve as a teacher, as an advisor, as a coach, a department head, and an athletic director. And most importantly, as a friend and a colleague of mine for nearly 20 years than this man. Few people have had such an impact on Memorial than he has, and no person deserves induction to the Hall of Fame more than he does. Please join me in welcoming this long-time Crusader who was a member of the class of 1976, inductee Tom Dolan.
First of all, I'd like to thank the Hall of Fame Committee for the induction, and I'd also like to congratulate all the other inductees for today. As mentioned, I went to school here in the 70s, and I found that some of my favorite teachers were teachers that were involved in extracurricular activities, whether it's someone like Mr. Crawford, who was the class advisor, Mr. Samara, Ms. McMillan, who was a cheerleading coach. All these people were involved, and I think they really enjoyed that. So when I started teaching, my first year, I asked Mr. Quirk if he needed anyone for freshman basketball or something, and that's what he gave me. My second year, Mr. Cobb needed someone for softball, JV softball coach, so that's what I did. And as it turned out later, most of the time the principals would come and ask me if it could be a student council advisor, a National Honor Society advisor, a math team coach. So as you said, I've done a lot of different things over the years here, and I'm truly thankful for being inducted into this Hall of Fame. Especially being inducted with Mr. Crawford, Mr. Cobb, and seeing that the faculty that we have in the Hall of Fame, people like Mr. Samara, Ms. Call, Ms. McMillan, Mr. Peralt, and Mr. Menswad. And finally, I'd like to say one thing about Mr. Menswad. The Hall of Fame committee, I think everyone would agree that the amount of work he's done, as well as his wife and his family, is truly remarkable. For someone who's been out of school for 20 years, the commitment he has shown in this time is amazing. I have a friend of mine who says this about Mr. Menswad: if you need someone to do a half-assed job, don't ask Ted Menswad. That guy is truly committed. Thank you.
I've had the good fortune to have been a college classmate, as well as a fraternity brother of this next inductee. And his friendship is one that I have cherished, and I will for as many years as I have, though my son, I guess, can stop writing my obit. Not only was he a great teacher, advisor, coach, athletic director, and assistant principal, those of us who were close to him, we knew he had another talent. He was a great entertainer. If you knew him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. If you taught with him, you know exactly what I'm talking about. After basketball games, he and his wife, as well as a number of others, after going to the game, we'd go to the Alibi restaurant. And on any given day, it was always a good adventure. But on particular occasions, this inductee would start joke telling. And he was unbelievable. He would, within a short period of time, have us in stitches. The following week, we went back to the Alibi after a game, and this time there was a group of people seated beside us, and we overheard the conversation as the guy wanted to know where the comedian was that was appearing there last week. And he said, we're from Massachusetts, and we made a special trip back here. We brought friends from our neighborhood with us because we wanted him to perform for them. They wanted to see him after what we told them about. So we were listening going, we come here all the time. And Wade looked at the guy and said, I'm sorry, sir. We don't have a comedian here. We've never had a comedian here. We looked at each other and said, oh my God, they're talking about John Cobb. Though he can't be here today, he is awaiting the birth of their great-grandchild, understandably so, reason for absence. He asked me to read this on his behalf, and then when I'm done, his daughters, Stephanie and Kristen, would like to add a final word. In response to my question, to a number of them, but to John in particular, what does he remember most during his time at Memorial? And the following is how he answered. I cannot place one above another. However, as a classroom teacher, a class advisor, a JV baseball coach, a varsity softball coach, a golf coach, and an AD, and a vice principal, there is a common thread, a central consistency, the people. The families that I came to know and the kids that became a part of my life for 35 years is beyond any single event. My own family and the MMHS family have been blessed with the people that were and still are a part of its legacy. Again, thanks Mr. Hein, Mr. Bronstein, for your trust in me. Thanks Mr. Hammond for pushing me. Thanks Bruce, Paul, Ricky, and Ted. Thanks to all the all-star teachers that became a part of my life. I'll never forget you. Thank you to these families, the Meisel, Crosdale, Kelleher, Joseph, Houghton, Gatzis, Manning, Menswar, Perrick, Astorita, Langella, Craig, Crawford, Thompson, and many more not mentioned, but surely not forgotten families. Thank you, Mr. Lavinaris, Mr. Tangway, Mr. Brendan, and everyone who has made this possible. Kristen? And Brett, we'd like you to say a few words.
Well, I'm not Kristen. Kristen's hiding in the back. I'm Stephanie. I'm John's daughter, and as he wrote in his acceptance letter that Mr. Menswar just read, it was the families and the people that he met here that were the most important parts of his years here at MMHS. We certainly understand that message, Kristen and I. Growing up, his memorial friends were also part of our lives. Rick Samara is my sister's godfather. We stayed at Grail and Judy's beach house after school and got out each summer. The summer softball team that he played on was basically a Memorial alumni team, and he did that for 20 years. We also saw the fun he had at the athletic games, the faculty plays, the graduations, the school trips, and how proud he was of telling people that he taught at Memorial, that he was head coach softball and later was the AD here, and then the assistant principal. He was a geography and economics teacher that made him a fairly good Jeopardy player. And he taught us something that was really important too, was the sense of community that he got from the people that are in this room. It's something that, it was always instilled in us of how important it is to love your job and love all the things that come with it. And for that, we thank you. My sister and I are here tonight to just let you know that he definitely loved this place, the people and the life that it gave him, and also for us as MMHS families. He certainly hit the lottery with the time and the place that he was given to be here. And we are thanking you for this recognition, and we can't tell you how much it means to him. Thank you.
This next inductee was my baseball coach when I was in grammar school at OLPH. Back then, I didn't realize, and at that time, I was being mentored by a man who would become the most recognized assistant coach in the history of Manchester High School athletics. Whether it was football, baseball, or basketball, he was a vital part of the success of Memorial High School's athletics during its dominant years. How successful? He's already a member of the Queen City Athletic Hall of Fame. Representing him today is a person that Frank lovingly shadowed throughout his athletic career. The grandson to Frank Melick, grandson James.
Good afternoon. On behalf of my family and I, we would like to congratulate all of tonight's inductees. We'd like to thank Coach Menswar for this honor. I could probably go on all night. My grandfather and my brothers certainly won't let me. His time here at Memorial started in 1962 when another legend, Bob Shabbat, as I don't really need to mention, hired him to come on and coach the JV and freshman football team. That started a career in teaching and coaching that would span 6 decades here in the greater Manchester area. He made it his life's mission to make sure that he taught more than the X's and O's, to make sure that any student athlete of his would have the tools and the lessons that they would later use in life, not just on their field of play. But it was those Crusader JV and freshman football teams that were nearest and dearest to his heart. Or as Bobby Burgess would tell me, they called themselves Malick's Marauders. We would, growing up, we would hear a lot of great stories of those 60s and 70s Crusader football teams. And the names that brought those stories back to life: Ken Thomas, Angie Manny, Don York, Gene Brown, my personal favorite, Bull Connors. My favorite story of all, they need applause. They sure do. Hold on. I think my favorite story, though, doesn't need too much mention. Trinity Memorial, 1971, state championship in the snow. Would hear it year after year after year, and by the time I was in my 20s, so was the snowfall total for that game. And anybody that knew my grandfather knew that he was legendary at telling a story. Of all his accomplishments, he would tell you, though, that he was most proud of his family. Being a loving husband and father, being more of a grandfather than any one grandfather ever had to be to 3 grandsons. He would be most proud today to know that he had a great-granddaughter, my little niece Brooklyn. He would be very proud of my 2 younger brothers, following in his footsteps in their coaching careers. And it's nights like tonight that make the last 13 years a little easier. We miss him dearly. I miss him every day. And it will be my life's work to keep his legacy and his memory alive. Because heroes get remembered, but legends never die. Thank you.
I've been involved in the sport of baseball for the greater part of my life. Over those years, I've had the good fortune to cross the paths of many outstanding players, including both of our sons, as well as coaches. My only regret is that I never got to coach alongside this man. Affectionately known to his players as well as the coaches that faced him, he was known as Buddha. This inductee was a definition to me of the word coach. Very few men had the amount of respect from both players and fellow coaches as he did, and he definitely deserved it. I wish he was here so I could congratulate him, but I still get to do the next best thing, present the awards to his son, Roger Polychronopoulos Jr.
Thank you, Mr. Menswar, and the committee and all the inductees. I'm feeling a little intimidated here since I'm from Central and all you guys are crazy. No, my dad would be very proud to be honored by you folks here at Memorial. He lived his life's dreams by coaching, and he meant, all of his kids meant everything to him and how they succeeded and moved on in life. And he'd be very honored and very grateful, and he'd still be coaching if he was around right now. Thank you very much.
Take a seat, Ted. It's my turn. Now, this next inductee, though the Memorial Booster Club, and most of you that have been here know that the Booster Club's been huge for a lot of the athletes and other organizations, including us, the Hall of Fame Committee, because they were able to donate some good stuff for us for this year. But the most recognized supporter of Memorial's athletic programs, very few of its presidents get recognized in the yearbook by a graduating class. And the class of '95 did that, as they honored him with a full page in the Excalibur in return for his hard work, his dedication over their 4 years at Memorial. Himself, a Memorial graduate, class of '67, Chris Alides was a true crusader, and accepting this award on his behalf are his daughters Mandy and Misty.
Hello, everyone. I'm Misty. This is Mandy. We are very honored to be here, but we sure wish our dad was here with us. It was almost 11 years ago to the day that we all gathered in Manchester to say goodbye to our dad. He really would have loved this. He was fiercely dedicated and committed to anyone that knew him. We also think he pretended to be an extrovert. He hated to travel, and he loved nothing more to be at home with our pets and our family. Sometimes we actually wondered if he volunteered so much that he could be around Mandy and I every single day here at NHS. High school is hard enough without your dad being here all the time, at every track meet, every game, every pep rally, but we didn't appreciate it until now. And we find ourselves doing the same for our children. My 3 daughters, Lillian, Eleanor, and Adeline, and my sister and her daughter, Cameron, who is here today. He never met my youngest. I was 18 weeks pregnant when he passed away. So you'd imagine my surprise when out of the blue, when she was 3, she gave me the I love you hand signal. It was our dad's private way telling us he loved us with minimal embarrassment. He did it all the time while we grew up to his very last days. So we thank you all for honoring Chris Alides today, and we love you, Dad.
This inductee and I have been friends for years. We've coached baseball together, and we coached against each other. Though he's extremely successful over his 18 years as head coach of baseball here, I want to point out something he did that I believe is equally noteworthy. To raise funds to support the baseball program, this coach initiated the city's 5th and 6th grade basketball tournament, which lasted for 17 years and often drew capacity crowds to the finals in our gymnasium. What should also be noted is that this tournament was the first to give grammar school women their initial basketball competition. Ladies and gentlemen, my pleasure to welcome Coach Jim Morgan.
afternoon. Being here is a very special honor, which means there are many thank yous that I have to give because all these people were important to make myself be here this afternoon. First of all, the Hall of Fame Committee, thank you. Eddie Wade, who hired me almost 40 years ago. My family, my sons Chris and Brendan, my wife Bonnie, who's always there supporting me, especially when we lost. The administrators, Mrs. Krauser, Mr. Ray Down, again, my support. Athletic directors, John Cobb, Peter Perrick, Doug Lange, thank you. You did all the work that behind the scenes that we're not really aware of to keep us going. My assistant coaches, Roger Polygonopoulos, my dear friend, obviously a great coach and a great human being. Jed Menswa, in the same category. And as Tom Dolan said, I repeat and mimic whatever you said exactly regarding his allegiance to Memorial High School. He's the best thing that will walk through those front doors. And Tom Dolan was there with me my last year when we won the state championship. And finally, in this group, ladies in the main office, Mrs. Bushey, Mrs. Manning, wherever you are, thank you for all the things you did. You and your fellow secretaries, you were important to my team all those years. And all the people I did not mention by name, and there were many that mentioned the basketball tournament, referees, coaches, assistant coaches along the way. I was fortunate to have them all help me. And finally, and last but not least, my players. Memorial High Baseball has always had a history of being excellent and consistent. A couple of facts related to that over the years, they had some great teams before I even stepped foot on that field. Memorial High School Baseball has been to the state championship 14 years out of the last 60, and they won 7 titles. 6 players played in the minor leagues, 4 of which made it to the majors. Again, a state record so far, all right? That's incredible. You think about all the major league players and how tough it is to get there. Memorial has a great history. When I took over in 1989, my kids, my players, kept that same attitude about winning and working hard. They gave me their best effort. They never quit on themselves or their teammates. They were always there to play. And I appreciate that very much. I see a lot of them today out here in the audience, okay? Not all of them were superstars. It didn't matter. They all came to play. And Memorial Baseball has always been had an attitude coming to play. And I appreciate that. And they're the reason why I'm up here this afternoon. Most importantly, I'm more proud of them for what they've become after they finish playing baseball. They've become public officials, community service, teachers, firemen, policemen, medical fields, okay, businessmen. I'm really proud of what they accomplished. And if I had a small part in what they did, that would really make me feel good. Finally, congratulations to all the inductees. You were part of a special group, and I'm honored to be part of that group with you. Thank you.
Those 4 that you mentioned that made it all the way to the top, and that was extremely difficult in professional baseball. The Assembly Committee is responsible for the baseball jerseys that are hanging in the hallway outside the gym, the game jerseys of each of the 4 that made it to the very top. This varsity coach has been a personal friend of myself, and his wife was my wife's best friend. We went out to dinner every Saturday night, and we headed up north every St. Pat's Day weekend to listen to his brother Marty sing Irish songs at Shenandoah in North Conway. Over these years, I got to see just how dedicated this man was to teaching the sport that he loved, basketball. His career as a Crusader coach is a long one because he served for years as an assistant coach for Pete Poirier before taking over as head coach when Pete retired. And he didn't just coach men's basketball. When he stepped down as head coach of Hesser College basketball, he returned to coach women's varsity here. Then moved back to head the men's program once more. it's my pleasure to introduce my good friend, who's also a heck of a golfer. It isn't unusual to watch him play 36 holes a day, carrying his own bag. No cart, carrying a bag. Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome former basketball coach Jack Quirk.
I don't know what I'm doing up here. Must be some type of longevity award. So many people to thank. First, my friend, Mr. Memorial, Ted Menswar, means more to this building than the bricks that support it. Principals, Joe Bronstein, who said to me in September 1970, hey, we got an opening for JV basketball coach. You want to take it or do you want to be transferred to another school? He was a man that got his point across in a few words. Len Foley, Bernice Krause, Ray Down, Jim Ham, and Arthur Adamakis said to me, hey, we got an opening for athletic director. If you got a pulse, you got the job. I got it. Thanks, Arthur, for bringing me back in the Memorial Sports World. Administrators, Eddie Wade, who stood by me through tough early times. Thanks, Ed. The one and only Butch Joseph, my good friends Joe Raycraft and Dave Goslin, who were both mentors to me when I started as AD. Tom Dolan, a good friend and another pillar of Memorial, who I constantly relied on for advice. Pete Poirier. I got my start with Pete. I worked as his assistant and JV coach for 12 years. Pete was a true example of an outstanding individual who really cared about kids. The coaches like Wally Tafe and Jimmy Morgan, who made my job as AD so much easier. My family, especially my wife Gail, who gave up so much for me and who always supported me and had my back, as I sometimes selfishly took precious family time away from her and put it on the back burner for school activities. There's absolutely no question that this award is as much hers as it is mine, maybe more so. My sons, Brian and Mark, they had the same problems. What coaching really comes down to, I think, is the kids, though, the bond you build with them, the time that you share with them. I always told them that the basketball season was like a roller coaster ride. The highs are fantastic and the lows are awful. Sports ain't always fair, just like life ain't always fair. But just because you win doesn't make you a winner, and just because you lose doesn't make you a loser. To the ones that I hurt, I'm forever sorry. I never meant to hurt anyone individually, but I know that sometimes in my role as coach, I made decisions that players didn't agree with. To the ones that I helped, well, that was only my job, and I wish that I could have helped all of them. I coached basketball for 47 years. Looking back, I enjoyed every one of them. Thanks for this honor.
Blame it on Ted. No. Our next inductee, like his dad, Walter Tafe Sr., Walter Jr. has become a New Hampshire coaching icon. Though he mentored both West for a couple of years, boo, and Central for 9 years, double boo. He was here for 16 years with the Memorial hockey team, and he led them to state titles in 89, 91, and 95. Now, there's a few guys up here that played for Coach Tafe. I didn't have the opportunity to do that because I was too old by that point. Because he's just a young guy. But one thing is I've gotten very close to Mr. Tafe, not just because of hockey, but because our families intertwine. His grandson and my grandson have been playing together now for 4 or 5 years. And there's nothing more that I enjoy than seeing them at the rink. I'd like to introduce you to the next inductee, Coach Wally Tafe, Jr.
your family. It all started in 1961 when my dad came over here as the assistant principal. 28 years later, City AD Butch Joseph decided to change the direction of the hockey club. He encouraged me and my son Matt to take over the Brogues. And you cannot say no to what Butch Joseph, he didn't take. He did not take a no. Our family grew to be more of a memorial family, led by my wife Alice as our guiding force. Matthew and Robin Tate. Matthew teaches at Hillside, and his wife teaches here at Memorial. They have 2 children that are going to go through Memorial High. Michael and his wife Laura Tate reside in Lebanon, New Hampshire, with their children who go to the Lebanon High School. Matthew and Melanie White. Melanie teaches at Hollis Brookline, while Matt is assistant Memorial Girls soccer coach. Both daughters will be going to the Memorial. In summary, I like to say that public school systems are workable. And before I leave the program here, I want to make a special thank you to Andrew Arndt, who happens to be our video machine operator in the back of the room. Thank you, people.
Okay, this concludes the first half. We're going to take about a 10-15-minute break, get something to eat, drink, whatever you get.
Memorial, I was a pitcher for Bishop Bradley. After graduating, we teamed up as members of Post 79, with legendary head coach Nick Arandina, whom we still miss. Though I was a decent pitcher in high school and Legion Ball, I couldn't compete with him as far as the accolades he received as a high school student at Memorial. He was named most courteous, most athletic, most popular, best physique. Enough said, please welcome my close friend, Andy Kiriatis.
Hi there. Listen, I honored and humbled receiving this award with the rest of the people here. I want to thank a few people who were responsible for making this possible. First, I want to honor my mother and father. If it wasn't for them, there's no ADK. I'd also like to honor my sister, my 2 brothers, who supported me in all my endeavors when I was in high school. I want to thank also the nominating committee, the Hall of Fame committee, and also the coaches and players from Central High School. I went to Central High School for 2 years. I came to Memorial as a junior. So I want to thank the coaches and players there who I played with, and who I also ended up playing against. I also want to thank the players at Memorial, the coaches at Memorial, and one guy who's not here today, a Hall member, Wally Rosmus, who he's got a little bit of a problem. He's in the hospital, but he's doing okay. I want to say hi to Wally. And I want to ask, how many of you here went to the Central Memorial first football game in 1960? Well, listen, I'm going to give you the short version. I wanted to give you the long version of that game because it was awesome. But anyway, in 1960, the place was Gilt Stadium. In 1960, the day was September 23rd, 8 o'clock. We're in the locker room. We're kind of going through our last minute preparations, and we have a couple of minutes to get out into the field. Coach had a couple of things to say. We run out onto the field. We come out of the visitors' locker room because we were considered memorial orphans. Kids that went from Central to Memorial, that's what they called us. And we wanted to change a little of that. So we run out on the field. The thing that impressed me the most about that game, that was the game that rocked the athletic city, part of the city of Manchester. It was unbelievable. We get out onto the field and you look around, and it was a mass of humanity. There was not one blade of grass on that field that didn't have someone from Manchester standing on it. And I guess there was about 10,000 people there. And so we're crossing the field, going over to the visitors' dugout. And as I get onto the gridiron, I'm looking down at the field, and I'm saying to myself, this looks like a postage stamp in relationship to everything that was going on here. So we go to the sideline. Central comes out. This is the first time that they had a chance to see the Memorial people, the Central people. We went through our warm-up, started the game, had the coin toss. We won the coin toss. We ended up having, going out on the field, national anthem, and off we went. This game, the first half, was a defensive struggle. We're playing against our friends that we played with for 2 years at Central. So we kind of knew one another, and it was tough. It was real tough. The second half, at the end of the second period, second quarter, we scored a touchdown and a 2-point conversion. Just before the half, Central mounted an attack, and they went all the way down to our end zone and scored, making the score 8-6. And that was the half, 8-6. The second half was kind of more of the same. It was a defensive struggle. In fact, at one time, my mother was up in the stands with my father, kept hitting him on the shoulder and said to him, John, how come all those boys are picking on Andy? And my father said, well, because Andy's got the ball. And she said, like all mothers say about their children, well, tell Andy, go down there and tell Andy to give the ball to someone else. It was like, what's going on? At any rate, the third quarter was, again, a defensive battle. The fourth period was a little more of the same, except Central mounted a drive and came down, and we stopped them on our 2-yard line. So we take the ball over on the 2-yard line. The place was going crazy. The only thing you could hear was defense, defense. That was Central. And Memorial was going, go, where? We want a touchdown over there. So we're in the house was in the end zone, and you could hear a pin drop in that house. I'm looking around, and these guys have the look of determination on them. Really, the eye of the tiger. There was no way that we were giving that ball up to Central to allow them to score. So what we did is we grounded out, 5 yards, 6 yards, 7 yards, 8 yards. till we got to the central 12-yard line, there was like a minute and 20 seconds left to go. So the central coach calls timeout, because what he wanted to do now is get one more bite of that apple. What he wanted to do is, all right, we're not gonna beat these guys, but at least, you know, if we let Memorial score, you know, we get a minute and 15 seconds, maybe we'll get a lucky score and tie this game up. So, of course, our coach, the first year at Memorial was Bob Giron, Coach Giron. And Coach Giron calls Wally the Wizard over, our quarterback. And, you know, we could see him talking to the coach. And, you know, he's shaking his head. And he comes back to the huddle. We want to score because we don't want to be, you know, the union leader had us, you know, dead and buried. They said we're going to get beat by 3 touchdowns. So we wanted to score at least another touchdown to kind of even the odds here. But, you know, Coach Giron said, no, we want 2 more plays, and those plays are going to be quarterback sneaks. Hold the ball, Wally. If you give the ball to anybody, it's going to be a plaque on the 12-yard line that says, born 1944, deceased December 23rd, 1960. So we you know, did the 2 quarterback sneaks. The gun goes off. The place was total pandemonium. Unbelievable. I'm trying to get across the field to get back into the locker room, and it was tough sledding. Get in the locker room, and of course it's all jubilation. Unbelievable. Now, you got to remember, this is the first Memorial football team, 1960. I was a junior. So I'm sitting there, you know, enjoying everything with everyone. And, you know, at 16 years old, I'm saying to myself, hey, this was a historical event. And it was, yeah, we beat Central 8-6. But the most important thing that happened that night, all the student body, the parents, the teachers, the administration from Memorial were absolutely in tune with us. That night, Memorial High School gained its independence from Central. And we developed our own tradition, and I'm glad to say that I was part of it. I'll tell you something else. It was move over, Central. Memorial are the new kids on the block. Something else. Central never beat Memorial for a decade. You know how long a decade is? 10 years. In that 10 years, I graduated college. I got a job. I married my wife. And I had the first of 2 beautiful daughters before Central ever beat Memorial again. So the takeaway here is we developed our own identity, and that identity and tradition is carried on from 1960 to today and going forward. And they handled that tradition beautifully. So I want to thank you all again. I want to thank all my family out here who have listened to a number of stories, and you know, okay, Dad, we've heard that one. Go Crusaders!
Cheers for
Very slowly.
All right, class of 1968, and Stephen Sheridan. If you talk high school baseball and basketball or football, back in the middle to late 60s, this inductee's name is sure to be part of this discussion. The quote under his name in the yearbook reads as follows: "Do not wish to be anything but what you are, and try to do that perfectly." Though he probably didn't realize it back then, he couldn't have selected a better one to access his athletic career at Memorial High School. His teammates knew it, but because they selected him as best athlete, he should have been inducted earlier, but the members did take the final cut. Thankfully, this year he enters flying colors. Unfortunately, because of his health issues he recently began experiencing, he cannot make the trip from Florida and to attend today's ceremony. Accepting on his behalf is Holly Flanders LaFont. Holly LaFont.
Thank you so much. My brother is very sorry that he wasn't able to make it, but on his behalf, he's very humbled and honored to be inducted. He thanks the Hall of Fame Committee and all the other inductees, and I'm humbled and honored on his behalf to present his support. Thank you so much.
I won't be singing any songs. Take care of it. The next person being introduced into the red section is Billy Trisciani. He was a teammate of mine in high school. At the time in high school, when you're just playing football, you're having fun, Billy could not be blocked. We thought it was kind of funny. We couldn't block the guy. He didn't hurt anybody, he didn't knock you down, he didn't knock you over, he just got by you all the time. That same thing was happening when we played other teams. Consequently, after he made All-State his junior year, made All-State his senior year, he went on to Trinidad Junior College in Colorado, was an All-American his first year there, and an All-American his second year there. After that, he went to West Texas State University. Oddly enough, as a junior there, he made All-American, and as a senior, he once again made All-American. Not surprisingly, he chose to make football his career and coach Oklahoma football for about 40 years. Introducing now his son to accept his plaque is Bill Trisciani Jr., in my eyes.
All right, so I didn't write anything down because my cousin told me 3 days ago that we had to give a speech, actually 2 days ago, and I'm 1,500 miles from home, Oklahoma. So let me just start by saying thank you. The honor would mean the world to my father. For me, I went to the high school, played for him for 1 year. We figured out as Triscianis that wasn't going to go over well. He stepped away from football, became the athletic director and the principal, and life was good for me again. Same as me, I coached for years. My son, William III, would have played for me. However, I am no longer coaching either, and that's a good thing for both of us because we barely get along at the house. just an honor. You know, it's kind of like, is it men's war? Men's war. I'm sorry, my accent's a little different than y'all's. We say car, you say car. So, what you said earlier about, you know, you die twice, that's always been a big deal for me with my father's legacy. And so that really hit me when you talked about that earlier, that, you know, you have the service and all that the first time, and the second time is the last time they said your name. So by giving my son my father's name, I hope to continue that legacy. Thank you.
From 1969, Jim Mason. All I can say is before I read this little thing, Jim, it was a pleasure being your water boy back then. We had some good times watching this guy play football. Bless the man who invented sleep. That's what Jim put in his yearbook quote. That might sound like that it would cause to think that he was lazy or never exerted any effort, but you'd be wrong watching this person play. You see, what the quote really means is that sleep is what this muscular athlete caused his opponents to experience after making contact with him on the football field. Big, strong, and deceptively quick, his name was always mentioned with discussions turned to power runners of high school football. It's my pleasure to introduce to you Jim Mason.
I want to thank the committee very much for electing me to this Hall of Fame, and the present Hall of Famers, very good. And the past, I see a few out there, Ronnie, Scotty, Angie, yeah, congratulations. And I want to say hi to my family, my loving wife of 44 years, not 54, so, and my daughter Erin, my grandson Christopher, my brother John, my sister Ann, and her husband Bob. Okay, let's see, when I was in grammar school, I went to a Catholic school, St. Francis. And I'm talking about basketball, not football now. And, you know, like when you went to a Catholic school, the nuns always wanted you to go to a Catholic high school, which was Bradley back then, it's Trinity now. And so anyways, I didn't know, like, you know, probably 3 weeks before school started, like 90% of my class and my friends that I all hung around with in grammar school and all that stuff, they were going to Bradley, so I wasn't sure, you know, what I was going to do. So I finally, you know, probably talked to my dad and all that stuff, and made up my mind. I said, well, I think I'm going to go to Memorial. So anyways, Bradley sent me a letter, and I know he sent it because we play, like, going to Catholic school, you played against, you know, like other Catholic schools, like St. Joe's, St. Raphael's, and all that stuff. So I got to talking to Jim Beauchene that went to Central, and Steve Johnson and Tommy Kilrain that went to Bradley. So they wanted us to go to Bradley and play for them, but well, yeah, I decided to go to, you know, Memorial. And so anyways, like in my senior year, we were playing, there's only, like, you know, like now, I think there's like probably up to 16 teams that make the tournament and all that stuff. Back then, it was only 8 that made the tournament, and that's all over the state. So anyways, I think we won the first game. I'm not sure if it was Portland. So we played against Bradley back then. Well, we beat them. Then that was the quarterfinals. The semifinals, we played against Central. We beat them. And then finally, we played against National. We lost by about 3 points. But I mean, I wouldn't trade it for anything, for not coming to this school and all that stuff. And I just want to say, you know, the coaches, Pete Porter and Jack Kirk, did a great job and all that stuff. Hubie, Bob Shabbat, and Frank Malik, excellent job. And I want to shout out to the two, it was only a principal and assistant principal, Joe Bronstein and Wally Tafe. They did a real good job with the organization here, and all the teachers that I appreciate it very much. Okay, thank you very much.
I'm back. The next inductee has my name. My nickname in high school was Nip. His nickname in high school became Little Nip. At some point in life, I became Old Nip, and he became Big Nip. I remain Old Nip. My brother made the All-State team twice. He also made an All-American team and was honorable mention on another All-American team. There was probably no better center around, maybe ever, since those days. But what made him a player was the preparation that he undertook. Going down the Y, lifting weights, day after day, year after year. Getting up in the morning, I would drop him off at the field at 7 when I was one of my summer jobs, and he'd do his running regimen. What I'm saying is, he was an outstanding football player, but he worked to be an outstanding player. The plaque now to my brother, Ron Nip Revenger.
Everybody involved with this. But the guy I love the most in the world introduced me to football in the gym is my big brother. And for that, I owe everything to him. Thank you.
Inductee, I honestly thought would be here. I spoke to him about 3 or 4 days ago, but for whatever reason, not here. The inductee played for me back in the 1970s, and those were the years that I got to coach talented players like Mike Flanagan, Ronnie Borabach, Scotty Thompson, Steve Balboni, all went on to play professional ball at anywhere from minors all the way to the top. And all whom are now Memorial High Hall of Famers. How good was Tommy? If he hadn't suffered arm problems, I honestly believe that he experienced during his college years, he'd have been in pro ball too. And he wasn't just an excellent baseball player, he was also an excellent basketball player. I'm sorry he isn't here, but it definitely would have been my honor to have welcomed Tommy French to the Memorial High.
Class of 1978, a good friend of mine, Heidi Meisel Winchella. The yearbook quote under Heidi's name is, "No love, no friendship can ever cross our paths without affecting us in some way." Obviously, there's no way that we should know that that quote she chose to place in the yearbook was the exact way she had on those that were fortunate to know her, to be her friend, and to love or be loved by her. In fact, that quote we can show us for every member of the Meisel family, every member of her second family, the Langella family, and the Crowsdale family. All families we're all familiar with. We loved Heidi, we still do. And I'd like to invite Jack Crosville up here to accept her award.
So for those of you that don't know Heidi, she was part of a very large family at Memorial. A lot of them are here today at this table specifically, and then a few out back I see Auntie Carrie. But her niece, Bridget, actually played under Mr. Quirk, who was just inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. My mother, Wendy, she was another three-sport athlete. Her husband, Pete, played against her brother-in-law, my father, in football. I think they were both competing for backup center, which is a very prestigious award. But we also have my Aunt Carrie, and then my Aunt Lisa and my Aunt Carrie as well. And then we're also joined by her cousin, Ann. Ann told me she wasn't in high school to play athletics, she was there to party. She was still there. But the reason I wanted to quickly give that intro was, I think they all knew out of all of them, Heidi was the best athlete. And I'm about to I want to tell you her story because I think it's awesome. Heidi came about at a time where Title IX just opened up a ton of opportunities. So she played 5 sports, which doesn't really make sense considering there's 3 seasons, but she somehow made it work. She was the captain of the girls' ski team. She was the captain of the softball team, captain of the girls' cross country, girls' spring track, and then girls' soccer. She co-captained Memorial's first ever girls' soccer team her senior year, and with prior Hall of Famer Marnie Shea. Since 5 sports wasn't enough, she also was back-to-back 2-on-2 basketball champion with her friends Celeste Boyer and Robin Fitzgerald. Girls couldn't play football back then, so they played Merc football for fun. She also played that every year, so really 6 sports somehow. Heidi's shown as a team member. In 1975, her freshman year, she helped earn the first ever girls state championship title for Memorial. The sport was girls skiing. What made that year really special was that Heidi and 2 of her sisters, Lisa and Wendy, who are both here, were all on the team together. So the banner hanging in the gym is a special one. In 1976, Memorial girls came in 2nd in the state. Heidi garnered 1st place in the giant slalom and 2nd place in the slalom competitions. Her senior year, classmates voted her senior superlative of most athletic, and she was also awarded Girls Athlete of the Year as a senior. A true scholar athlete, Heidi maintained academic honors throughout her 4 years. When she was on the field, the diamond, the court, the slope, Heidi gave it her all. She was talented, committed, encouraging teammate, a coach on the field, and a mentor to young players. Heidi had great respect for her coaches, Pete Caldwell and Danny Marshall for skiing, John Call for softball, and Kathy Petrowski for soccer, and Gary Philippi for track and cross country. As talented as Heidi was, she was humble, never expected accolades. She would be so grateful to Mr. Menswar and the committee for bestowing this honor. And on behalf of the Meisel and Langella family, I want to thank everyone.
Only this inductee, who happens to be my brother, could come up with a quote that's under his picture next to Albert. It reads, Grasshopper, as you walk through the sands of time, you get dirty toenails. Classic choice, isn't it? That said, I do have to admit his skill and mound for the Crusader baseball team allowed him to leave a classic performance in his wake. He threw back-to-back no-hitters to win the Class L title. His classmates even selected him as their choice for the best sense of humor. However, I can't leave all of you with that image. As his sister, I also have to tell you that his classmates also made him their choice for class clown. All kidding aside, I'm proud to introduce you to my brother, Red Division inductee, Joseph.
Good evening. I was really hoping to be paired with them. I have to thank the committee. This is a great honor. All the inductees, congratulations. None of this happens without my mom and dad from the beginning. Dad would come home from work and I'd pitch he'd call out balls and strikes for 3 innings in the front yard every night, but I had to ask. Mom was behind us all the way. Everything that happened on the fields with all the players I was with, it all happened because we were a team. Nobody does anything by themselves. You all need a group around you to help you get here. And I thank all of them. And I hope you all have a good night. And this may get me in Memorial High School for longer than Jay Madden.
Next inductee wasn't just a very good soccer player, he was a great soccer player. All city, all state, all regions. He was also a great influence on our oldest son, Grant. I don't think I've ever told him this, but I wish to now before an audience. I truly believe that this man, Rand Kayer, was largely responsible for the baseball success that our oldest son, Brant, had. When Brant was 11, he decided to take baseball off. He was a Little Leaguer at East Little League, and he wanted to play soccer. I'm a baseball nut, so I wasn't exactly thrilled to hear that, but it's his life, his sport. He wanted to play it, and he did. What I didn't realize is that Rand and his good friend, fellow coach, George Dovis, were very skilled in soccer and very skilled in preparing athletes for that type of competition. What I found out after watching their practices and then going to their games is that if they lost, whatever number of goals that were scored against them, they had to run the entire perimeter of Precourt Park. They got beat 9-0 in one game. And when I watched my son run 9 laps around that field, they won ball games, but if they were scored against, they had to run. I personally feel that Rand Kayer and George Davis were responsible for my son's legs becoming miniature tree trunks by the time he took them out for East Little League that following year and ended up winning the district championship and going on to represent the East Little League program. Rand Kayer, I thank you immensely for your success, obviously bringing credit to Memorial, but the success you also provided for our oldest son, Rand. Rand Kayer.
Thank you, everybody. I'll try to keep this nice and short. First of all, Ted, you're amazing. I mean, the emails, you know, you guys that didn't pay on time and you got an email back. But anyway, thank you to all. You guys are very gracious to be here. This all starts for me. It's a pretty funny story. I lived the closest house to Queen City Bridge. It's now a gas station. The gas station bought my parents' house. My parents relocated 2 houses to Memorial Field. Wonderful. There was no fence around the field. So I lived on the field. Jim Shaughnessy was the first, maybe not the first soccer coach here, but I think he was. I used to come here when I was like 6 and 7 years old and watch the soccer. And the players would say, "Hey, Rand, you have any food in your house?" And I'd say, "Wow, we only have some cheese." He said, I love cheese. So I'd go home and get cheese from my refrigerator and bring it back to the players when I was 6 and 7 years old. Kevin Glaze, Richie Postera, Matt Nicole, Mark Nicole. Some of you might recognize those names. They were so gracious to me. Then a bunch of guys get together and form a junior soccer league. Amazing! And then in the playoffs, we get on a fire truck with the lights going to go to the playoff game. What does that do for a player? It makes them love the sport. And because of that love, I still coach today. 44 years of coaching, 16 years at Memorial, 4 years playing, 20 out of 44 years at Memorial. The best time. The best time. I started coaching at age 13. I am embarrassed what I did when I was 13. There was no coaches in Manchester. Soccer really started when I was 9. So when kids would get out of the junior league, they'd say, parents would say, we'll be the administrators, but we don't really understand soccer, so you played it, can you coach? So I remember being 13 coaching like 11-year-olds. I was awful. But I stayed with it. I went to classes. I got licensed. I refereed. I played. I traveled. I met so many people. Soccer people are awesome. They are awesome. They are so friendly and so warm. And I can think, in 44 years of coaching, I've met so many great people from all over the country. Soccer has been a big, big chapter in my life, and it is a great story. It's been a great ride, and I thank you dearly. I bleed red, white, and blue. I am a Crusader. I will always be a Crusader. To all of you inductees, well done. Thank you.
So back again, and very proud to introduce the following inductee, a former student of mine in the MMHS gym. She was known as a gym rat, locker room rat, couldn't get rid of her, always hanging out down there, softball glove, soccer ball, whatever. And now she is being inducted as a two-sport athlete who has excelled in both soccer and softball, and posting 6 of those shutouts in a team, as a team battled their way through in her final season to the eventual, they lost to the eventual state champion, Winnicott, in the semifinals. So she has gone on to coach softball at the college level after all these years, I think 18 years now, she told me. I wasn't quite sure. But I think a lot of you are here as part of her supporters. You were either her athletes, her friend, or whatever. And as evidenced by a large ad in the program, with many of you signing special, whatever thoughts of her and how she affected you. So, if you can join me in recognizing Debbie Buns Robitaille.
Well, I hate to follow Randy, but and I wrote it down, so. I made the font really big so I didn't have to wear glasses. So you can probably read it from the front row. I'd like to thank the committee and congrats to all the other recipients, but a big shout out to Mr. Parrott for always being so supportive of me as a player and a coach. To my family and friends here today, thank you so much for coming and sharing this special day. And a special thanks to my parents for always having a fridge full of Kool-Aid. Yeah. And a cabinet full of cookies and Doritos for all my teammates. Like Rand, I lived right across the street, so it was a blessing and a curse at times. A heartfelt thank you and apology to Mr. Cobb and Leo Cussin for putting up with all our shenanigans. Oh, the stories I could tell. The love of sports came from my father and grandfather, New England fans through and through, always watching, hoping this would be the year, loyal, supportive, enthusiastic, characteristics of a true sports fan. Sports has always been a big part of my life and still is. I've been coaching for over 35 years, and as Mrs. Call said, I coach at Southern New Hampshire, head coach of softball. But the best part about coaching is the relationships I still have with the alum and their families. Of course, I won a World Series ring, but there's always one message I share with my teams, and it's about the memories and the friendship that you forge throughout those memories. You will reminisce about the wins and losses, but most of all, you will remember the laughter that still brings me and my friends to tears to this day. The bond you share will last a lifetime. The most important part about playing here at Memorial was the memories and the lifelong friends. Sports is just a game, but what it brought to my life is priceless. Thank you again, and have a great night.
Our next inductee was a cross-country, indoor track, and outdoor track performer. During his career on the cross-country course that we run on at Derryfield, this gentleman ran the fastest time any Memorial athlete has run. He came in second in the state meet and ran the fastest time, and it hasn't been equal to this day. During his senior year, he won the 3,000 meters indoors, creating a school record, which again has not been equaled since his days at Memorial. That spring, he ran the 3,200 meters in the outdoor meet and again won that championship, and his time from the Hanover relays a week before the state meet is our school record. At that time, 1987, that record still remains as the record at the Hanover Invitational, which was a pretty prestigious track meet at the time. I do believe we've lost it to COVID, but. So I'm introducing who, hopefully, John was injured at work last week, and he may not be here. His father is supposed to be here. Norm Lacombe here. Get another one. Thank you.
All right, our next athlete comes in to the hall from 1989. His class selected him as the best-looking senior, who also had the best laugh. Under his yearbook picture, it states that he was a member of the debate team. He was also editor in charge of the Exponent mag, as well as a member of the computer team. But what I don't understand is another thing he listed, wide load 4. As a child, he wanted to be a professional basketball player, but instead he is now director of engineering at a life sciences company. His favorite teacher was Mr. Crawford here at Memorial. And as much as this inductee would love to be able to tell Jim that face to face, he still wants to say a few words about his experience as a student here. However, before he does that, I want him to explain wide load 4. Please welcome into the Hall of Fame, John Astorita.
That inside joke is no longer appropriate. For the bar later, maybe. Look, I'm surrounded by so many amazing people tonight. Like I have been since I was young. Yeah, it started with my parents. My mom is here. Yeah, and my dad. For those of you that knew my dad, would know he was the single biggest influence on my life, for sure. Yeah, and in fact, he had a positive kind of contribution, probably to a lot of the people in this room, including some inductees, Eggy, John Edinger, Cindy Patton. He would be proud of him too. My brother Jason, who inspired me to be a better role model when he was born. My brother Mike, an incredible athlete in his own right, stood up here in 2016 in front of this podium last year. Yeah, my lifelong friends, right? We've supported each other for more than 35 years of life challenges. Hopefully we get 35 more. the great Luke Alexander, sitting right over here. Him and his wife Pat were in my corner since before I was even born. Thank you. Teachers, Jim Crawford. Coaches, congrats. Jack Quirk, my coach from way back in the day. Teammates, one teammate in particular, Bill Morius, sitting right over here. It was one of the main reasons I was able to score those 1,000 points that I thought was going to be in my introduction. Bill was a great basketball player in his own right and a track star, deserves to be up here next time. New friends I've made along the way, yeah. You guys enrich my life, more than I could possibly give back to you. So thank you guys. And obviously, my beautiful wife, my daughters Samantha, Lola, and Gwen. You guys put up with me, but all that hard work is well worth it. Yeah, I stand up here because of all the wonderful people who have supported me throughout my life. Yeah, they've given me the confidence to continually strive to be successful and happy. And if there's one parting message and one thing I'd like to say and ask you to do, support young people in their dreams, whether it's sports, science, art, whatever they'd like to do. Yeah, and give them the confidence that they need to do amazing things, like everyone else who's being inducted today. Thank you.
Though he was a heck of a leader in football, baseball, and hockey at Memorial, that characteristic of leadership took him in a different direction after graduating. He now uses that characteristic as a PI, a private investigator. He owns his own company, and, well, we used him to find a lot of you this year. And from what my mentor, Ted Menzwar, says, we were pretty successful in finding everybody. So, Mike, thank you very much. And also, it should be noted that Mike's family now joins, and I don't know why Ted put this, but he did, now joins mine in getting a hat trick. 3 members of my family are in the hall, and now 3 members of the Manny family are in the hall. Congratulations, Mike Manny.
Special thanks to Mr. Menzwar and the committee. Special thanks to whoever put together this lineup and let me speak before Brant and not after Brant. To be honest with you, never in a million years did I think I'd be up here speaking at a Hall of Fame or giving a Hall of Fame speech. The fastest way into a Hall of Fame is to not have 2 wins as a starting quarterback. That's exactly what I did. But truly, this is a blessing. It's great to see so many familiar faces. Shake so many hands with people I haven't seen in a long time. Really cool to share this night like this with my beautiful wife, Nikki, my daughters, Avery, Remy, Jack, my extended family, which includes Emma, the Wolfingers, the Giordanos, even having a couple ex-teammates, longtime friends, Angelo Puglisi, who completed my first pass to in high school with D'Angelo. And a little shout out to Dale Drew and the Green Line from our hockey team from '88. But also special thanks to my parents who bleed red, white, and blue memorial colors. And my father, who was mentioned as often as anyone tonight. Just a great role model. My mom worked here for 25 years. If you've been through the office, you've seen her. Hall of Fame in her own right. She might not be in this Hall of Fame yet, but she's in my Hall of Fame. And just want to say thank you, everyone. Thanks for memories. Good luck. God bless.
You might have only won 2 ball games, quarterback in football, but you were a hell of a baseball player and hockey player, and that's why you are in the Hall of Fame for free sports. Before I introduce the 14th member of the Hall of Fame, I do want to give a shout out to my entire family. I mentioned my wife Karen, and she did every single centerpiece you see on your table. She made those totally from scratch, and I'll tell you, that was no easy task, as our kitchen could tell you for weeks that it all was there, and the downstairs, everything took over. I also wanted to thank my granddaughters, who I think definitely will be in the Hall of Fame at some point in the future, since my oldest granddaughter is a freshman at Memorial. Great academically, both of them, and you will hear about them again on the athletic point too. But now, the 14th representative to the Hall of Fame. This inductee played 4 sports, and he was an instrumental member in each of the baseball, football, soccer, and winter track teams. He also did something that surprised me, and his mom, Kay. He and several of his male buddies decided that they would join the girls' cheerleading team. We were stunned, obviously, and I asked him, why would you do something like that? His answer, we did it because we thought it would give us a better chance to date some of the cheerleaders. Throughout their entire action as members of that cheerleading team, they did help them win the Riverfest cheering competition, and they were, in part, as the first male cheerleading team in the state of New Hampshire. But he was also selected by his classmates as the best male dancer and the most fashionable male. I could say more, but I'd be bragging. Please welcome our oldest son, Brant Menswar.
Hey. Yeah. John was on that squad with me. He dated more girls. This has been an incredible opportunity, I think, for all of us. It's something like this takes a load of sacrifice, and from the very time I can think about being here at Memorial, you know, we lost a lot of games depending on the sport we played, but I think that's probably the one thing that is missing from a lot of today's youth is learning how to lose and how to come back from losing. And when you never lose, and you always get a trophy or a trinket, you don't really understand the value of winning. And it's not whether you win or lose, but you should definitely want to win. And that is something that I learned here from my coaches, from Coach Morgan, who was my baseball coach for years, Coach Barrett, when I played soccer, it was learning how to be good, strong men, and how to lose with dignity, but how to want to win. And so this sacrifice started with my mom and dad many, many, many years ago, and I thank you from the bottom of my heart for taking me to all of those practices and letting a crew of cheerleaders into our pool to practice throwing jumps. I really thank you for that. My brother, who grew up a few years behind me and an incredible athlete in his own right. My fellow teammates here, and Mike and John with basketball and Egg with soccer is just, it's an awesome opportunity to just say thank you so much for this. Thank you to the committee. I'm happy to get my father back here from his months and months and months and months of planning this event, so I hope you all appreciate it as much as we do. So thank you to my family, my aunts, my uncles, my wife, my son, his wife is here as well, so Brady, Miranda, and Emily, thank you. My nieces are here, Heidi and her girls, literally every single person that I could possibly want here is here, so thank you all so much, I appreciate you.
Our next inductee was a gentleman class of '90, who I had the opportunity to coach. In 62 years, Memorial has participated in the state cross-country championships. In those 62 years, Memorial has had one champion. That champion was Chris Capistran. He was an outstanding cross-country runner, running in New England as a sophomore and placing, and of course as a junior and as a senior. He was probably the only person after becoming injured in a track meet. He had a bum knee, and he came back for the state meet by him finishing 6th in the state in the Class L meet. It allowed Londonderry to win the championship. The following week, the Londonderry coaches gave Chris a Londonderry letter because he helped them win the championship. And I'll introduce Chris Capistran, one of our best distance runners ever. Thank you.
Thanks, Ed. So first off, this wasn't in my original speech, but I wanted to be a cheerleader. And there's a few more out here in front. But I weighed, I don't know, like $115 when that all started, and I was either going to be on the top of the pyramid or I wasn't going to be a cheerleader. So I stuck to running. So as everyone said, thank you to Mr. Menswar, everyone else who's helped put this together. It's really great to be back at Memorial, to see a lot of familiar faces. I was saying this to Mr. Menswar at the break. I felt like it was the late 80s all over again, which was a pretty good time for a lot of people in this room. But considering I'm being honored for my speed, I'll try to be as brief as possible. But that said, I have one more tangent. Jack opened the door to 2-on-2 basketball, so I have to bring that up. Lots of state titles in track and cross country. My greatest achievement as an athlete at Memorial was winning the 2-on-2 basketball championship my junior year. Bill's sitting over there crying in his drink. But that's my number one achievement, so I'm going to live by that for the rest of my life. So, a lot of things I could talk about today. Got rid of the overly sentimental and, as my wife told me, to the overly controversial topics. Want to talk about track and cross country. People see track and cross country as an individual sport. I don't really agree with that. I don't see that as true. I had a lot of great experiences here at Memorial. I went on to run college at Georgetown, and it's always to me been the ultimate team sport. Long runs, long bus rides. As any parent in the audience who's been a parent of a track athlete knows, even longer meets. So I'm now a dad of a swimmer. I'm going to argue that swim meets are more painful than track meets. I ran distance, so you at least got to see me run for 3, 4, 5, 6 minutes. Swimming, they swim for like 30, 40 seconds at a time. So, but anyways, shared experience, strong bonds that you build with your teammates, lifelong friends, seeing some of them here today. It's a pretty amazing sport, I think so. I now coach CYO, elementary and middle school cross country. And I see that with the kids all the time. I'm hoping they're getting those same bonds. They're not poking each other with sticks. The things that they do. But all that said, couldn't have done it without my coaches. Ran a kid somewhere, but Nip was a huge influence on my life. My parents, Steve and Kathy, my aunt, fellow Crusader, Peggy, is here tonight. And of course, my wife, Courtney, my daughters, Lauren and Emily. They put up with all my old stories, my attempts at getting back in shape to recapture the glory. And especially to Emily, who I now coach. It's tough when your dad is your coach. Thank you for everyone at Memorial for the honor, and thank you again to everybody who put this together. I I was gonna say that I was humbled and grateful, but people know that humility is not really my strength, so I'm just grateful. So, thank you.
Our next inductee, class of 1992, was an outstanding soccer athlete as well as a track athlete. She was all-state in soccer and was nationally ranked indoor track in the 600 meters. As a matter of fact, she still holds the school record in the girls' 600 meter run. In addition, she was the treasurer of her class and the valedictorian. Let's talk some academics here. She was like tons of energy, very friendly, very team-oriented. Her aunt is going to accept the plaque for her and the Chowski Macropole. And we have a video that Kathy sent to be played at this induction. Direct your attention to the north side of the room. Perhaps I could sing a song? Come up and get the flag for Kathy while we work on the video.
I want to take this opportunity to use the committee for inducting me into the Memorial High School Hall of Fame. What a tremendous honor. I look back at being a Crusader and competing in high school as some of my fondest memories. Not only did I have amazing teammates, but I also had amazing coaches. Coaches that aren't here with us, like Coach McGilvery and Coach Bugden, and those that are, Coach Salidas and Nipper, you know, and just the amazing support that everybody provided from family to teammates to coaching to making sure we all got what we needed, we got where we needed to be. Marshaled us from event to event and really just ensured that we were going to be successful. To all of you out there, my fellow athletes, congratulations on your fine accomplishment as well. To the family members and other people that sit out in that crowd tonight, the village, it truly takes the village to be successful. I wish I was there in person to accept this tremendous honor, but though I'm afar, know that I'm there in spirit with all of you. Tonight, my godmother, my Auntie Annie, will accept this award on my behalf. And thank you to Mr. Dolan and to Mr. Mensah for putting up this video screen and allowing me my 2 minutes of fame so that I could at least say thank you to the ones that I love there and the ones that I love from afar. Again, thank you so very much and congratulations to all of you out there.
Kathy would have loved to be here to accept this award today, but her sister is battling cancer, and Kathy has been supportive to her since she was first diagnosed and continues to stay by her side in Florida. I am so blessed to have a niece as special and talented as Kathy. Her achievements in life go far beyond her art and sports, and I am so honored and grateful to accept the Memorial Hall of Fame award on her behalf today. Thank you.
It is my pleasure to introduce the next athlete inductee to you, Cindy Patton Lamontagne. This inductee was an extremely talented three-star athlete, 4 years of soccer in the fall, where she served as captain as a senior, 4 years of basketball in the winter, where she served as captain as a junior and a senior, and 4 years of softball in the spring, all during her years as a Crusader athlete. This 4-year member of the honors program also had favorite teachers. For instance, this is according to Mr. Mensah. Her choices were Mr. Samard, Mr. Crawford, Mr. Dolan, Mr. Samara, all great teachers just like her. Every one of them were wonderful. It's a pleasure to introduce to you Cindy Patton.
Thank you so much, Mr. Perry, and thank you, Mr. Mensah. It's particularly special because I've known you both since I was about this big, chasing around Mr. Perry. You really were the first person to instill my love in soccer, and I'll never forget Camp Fatima days, and Mr. Mensah, the days in the gym at Hillside, actually, running around with all the kids there. So I appreciate you both. Thank you to the committee for including me in this induction. There's so many people in this room. There's so much excellence that I'm honored and I'm humbled. Congratulations to everyone else who's been honored today, and thank you for the mentions that people have made. It means a lot to me. I'm really proud to be a Memorial graduate and hold memories of my time here really closely. Through my involvement in sports, I learned so much more about life than athletics. I met teammates who became friends, who then became more like family, and mentors who helped shape my core values that I hold today. I'm very grateful for the role models that I've met and looked up to as an underclassman. Many of them are here today. And I'm particularly grateful for my coaches who showed timeless dedication, commitment, and patience while dealing with the periodic shenanigans. I promise I didn't talk to Deborah Ochai before this. And I think Mr. Astrida dealt with most of the shenanigans. But in addition to Mr. Astrida, I really had a special place in my heart for Coach Robitaille, Coach Kusan, Mr. Crosdale, who can forget Mr. Crosdale, and Coach Dave Elliott. I'm also forever grateful for the support of my family. My dad, who was my very first coach ever and spent countless hours throwing balls. I broke his nose dribbling the basketball in the basement practicing. And my mom, who's always been my very greatest supporter. Thank you to my husband and my daughter who are here today. And I hope as I look and I feel what I'm feeling today, watching my daughter grow up and be in high school, I really hope that she can feel these things that I feel today, coming back to a place where I feel welcome when I look around the room. And I'm so proud of the excellence that I see, and I'm so grateful to be included among all of you wonderful people. So thank you from the bottom of my heart.
As a child, this inductee wanted to be though he wanted to be a pro baseball player, this outstanding three-sport athlete achieved success in each of the sports he played. He was selected to all-state teams in 2 sports. He's currently a teacher, a physical education teacher at Kingswood Regional Middle School in Wolfboro, New Hampshire. And I know he had a good career, an outstanding career at Plymouth State College as a baseball player. His best friend in high school was, and still is, talented hockey player Nick Terrian. His favorite member of the staff at Memorial was Mr. Rick Samara. He realizes now what that poor man had to put up with as he and Nick invaded his office nearly every day during homeroom for their entire senior year. Please welcome Mark Thompson.
Thank you very much. Thank you to the committee for inducting me, Mr. Benoit. Thank you for all your tireless work. Inductees, congratulations again. I can only accept this award on behalf of my former teammates, all my former teammates, all my former coaches, my family who was here tonight, and friends that supported me, without whom I wouldn't be standing here accepting this great honor. So thank you. And a big shout out to my first coach, my always coach, my best friend, and #1 fan, Gary Thompson, my late father, passed this past March, and Memorial, Brad, 1970. He's here. Thank you all very much.
Forever to get a hold of this inductee, but he is so outrageously busy. He finally got a hold of me yesterday and said unfortunately he wouldn't be able to join us today because work has got him out straight. And the moment I saw him as a little leaguer, I knew he was going to be a good one. From Little League up to Babe Ruth, into Memorial High School baseball, and I got a chance to coach him while he was with Sweeney Post. Extremely talented athlete who experienced a major disappointment when he attended UNH in his senior year, playing extremely good baseball. That's when UNH dropped its baseball program. Unfortunately, I wish I could hand him this award today, but as I said, he is not able to be here. Great player, great coach too. I worked for him at his facility that he had in Auburn as an instructor. It would have been, still is, my pleasure to induct Ken Jobin into the Memorial High School.
Okay, looking good, we only got 2 left. The next inductee comes from our school of 1991. He was a graduate of 1991. And not only was he talented in 1 sport, but he was talented in 3 sports, baseball, soccer, and hockey. And he had a huge impact in each one, attesting to that fact that his class chose him as their most athletic male. He was a member of the Crusader hockey team that won the state championship in 1991, though he thought they were not the most talented team in the state. I remember that in '78, Flurry. But there was no one as disciplined or as motivated. And if I'm not mistaken, was that Wally's team? Yeah. Remember when you were in the penalty box? No, I won't go there. I know how important these two words are for him and how well they fit this inductee. But it is truly my pleasure to be the person to introduce the Hall of Fame Red Division inductee and Deputy Chief of the Manchester Fire Department, David Fleury.
Thank you. It's a great honor to be here tonight. Again, I'd like to say what everybody else has said tonight. To Mr. Menzwar and the rest of the committee, thank you for all the tireless work you put in to make this happen. Without you, none of us are here tonight. Again, it's an honor and a privilege to be with so many distinguished guests, honorees, both past and present. My time here at Memorial, I loved it. Every day, loved coming to school, met great friends here. It was great staff. I want to thank Mrs. Maney for keeping me and Randy out of trouble on more than one occasion. And I don't think I'm the only guy up here that can say that. She helped a lot of us. I played on some great teams with some great coaches and great teammates. Some of those teammates have been inducted. And after tonight, every one of my coaches here at Memorial is an inductee into this Hall of Fame. It's pretty easy to be successful when you're surrounded by great coaches like that. What I do want to say is a lot of times our coaches get a lot of the accolades, but every great coach will tell you he surrounds himself with great assistants. I want to thank Mr. Perrick, my soccer coach, Rand Kerr, my soccer coach, but I also want to thank Dave DeVillas, Coach Garno, and Coach Crosdale, all great coaches who had just as much of an impact on every one of those teams as our head coaches. In hockey, thank Coach Wally Tafe, Coach Matt Tafe, and Coach Johnny Klopp. Again, those two assistant coaches, we don't have the teams we have, we don't have the success we had without them. And in baseball, I want to thank Mr. Morgan, Mr. Menzwar, and Mr. Polychronopoulos. Three great coaches who, again, we had a lot of success on the field, and all of them will say each of those coaches played a big part of it. Again, I want to say thank you to my family, my mother, my father. You know, they allowed me to chase my dreams, follow my passion, and that was athletics growing up. They always made sure I did well in the classroom, but no matter what, they were there to support me in any endeavor I ever wanted to do. It didn't matter whether it was baseball, hockey, soccer, skiing, swimming, whatever it was. They were always there to support me. What I did, one thing I appreciate most, is they never lived vicariously through me. You know, they always showed up, they supported me, they never missed a game. My mother never cared if we won or lost. She'd love a tie. My father, the only thing he cared about is that I wasn't the last one out of the hockey rink. Those were their big concerns, and he had the car warmed up for my mother in those long winters. To my mother, I want to say thank you, for always being there. She's always been my biggest fan. She still gives back. She's a graduate here at Memorial. She's one of 10, and she can tell you them all, and tell you every year they graduated. And she'd be up here for a long time telling stories. To my wife, who I met in high school, and I'd like to say I saved her from West High School. Try to remind her of that. She tells me that she's the one that saved me. She's always been there to support me, always had my back, made a lot of sacrifices so that I could chase my dreams and allow myself to coach after I played here at Memorial and played in college at New Hampshire College. She was there by my side each and every year, and she's still here today, allowing me to pursue the dreams I have. Out of my kids, I've always said that no matter what you do in life, whatever it is, just have a passion for something and follow that passion, follow your dreams, and give 100%. The only thing we ever control, like Brian Stone said, is your effort and your attitude. And I try to tell my kids that all the time. You control your attitude, you control your effort. If you can look in the mirror at the end of the day and say, I gave 100% today, then you had a good day. In closing, again, I want to thank everyone involved here tonight. It's truly an honor to be here. And I can tell you, I played with some of the best players ever here at Memorial. I'm here because of them. I'm here because of my coaches. You know, I was smart enough to follow their coattails. Just trying to be a part of that team. To my son Sam, my daughter Erin, my daughter Shay, this is a great honor, but you three are my greatest accomplishment. Thank you.
All right, we are at the final inductee. Save the best for last. I don't know. We saved the really good one for last, I must say. So my name's Aaron Tolson, and I'm here to induct this very, very good friend of mine. This man, when I would describe him, I would use the word winner. His hard work, his effort. When I would watch him practice, he would inspire me to be my very best. I got to run relays with him, and he was always reliable, always the person that you would want on your team. He is the school record holder, still, to this day, of the 600-meter dash. He was state champion in the 600 meters. There are two banners in the gym of two team state championships that he is very responsible for. He is simply amazing. He was also quite the dancer at the school dances, I must say. His flat top was a little weak, but he really worked on it. He tried to make it strong. So it is my honor and my pleasure to introduce and induct Mr. James LaValle.
Thank you. Gone are the days of that hair. I wish I still had it. And I was going to make a joke. I didn't even know Aaron was going to be here today, but I was going to say, yeah, for those of you who thought that Aaron got 2 awards, there are 2 of us. So thank you, Aaron, for coming up. I wanted to thank the committee so much. Mr. Menswell and Nip, you guys worked hard on this. Thanks to my fellow inductees. It's a huge honor, seriously, coming back here. And I will say this, I grew up in a massive family. For any of you who know the LaValles, I had 9 aunts and 1 uncle who were all Memorial graduates. So growing up, I had to be a Memorial graduate as well. The only problem is I live 2 blocks away from Central. So in an effort to become a Memorial graduate, I had to put, and this is a big secret, I had to put my grandparents' address on Belmont Street and Silly Road in order to be in the Memorial area. So yes, I hope the mayor's not still here. But yeah, that was a big secret. That was a big secret. But that's how badly I wanted to go to Memorial, and I'm glad I did. You know, the years that I spent here, it's kind of funny because I wanted to take this time to really thank one person in particular. For one, I reminded Mr. Menswell that he was actually my East Little League coach when I was playing baseball back in the day. So thank you for that. But one person in particular is Mr. Nip Prevention. And funny enough, when I started running here, I know it's kind of shocking, I was only 5'2" when I entered high school, and I sucked. I sucked so bad that my mom, who's a single parent, I told her not even to come to my meets. And Nip welcomed me with open arms, and I know this is hard to believe, but he would actually wait for me while we were on training runs around the city. He would wait, that's how slow I was. So, you know, a lot of these other athletes up here, oh, from birth, I saw that person who's gonna be an amazing baseball player, soccer player, football. Yeah, that wasn't me. That wasn't me. But, you know, Nip showed me a level of kindness that truthfully I hold dear, you know, to me, and I always have. He also showed me how hard, you know, how hard you should work at something that you love. And the team, somebody else mentioned the fact that they're not up here representing themselves, they're up here representing the team. So I thank anybody who was on the track team, Cappy was there, for welcoming me on that team and just being so welcoming, because truthfully, I would not have succeeded in track and in life had they not welcomed a little short kid
who couldn't run for shit. I'm sorry. who couldn't run back then, I'm sorry. But no, truthfully, I was, like I said, I was a single parent household. I never knew my father. He was an athlete as well, but Nip showed me truthfully what it was to be a man. And I can't thank you enough. So, thank you.
Okay, that wraps up part 2. We thank you very, very much for making the effort to come here. As I said, best part is watching you. It's been a phenomenal experience.